Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep! Today we're going to cover Kisaki Tetta, the main antagonist of the Tokyo Revengers manga. I must say, this is the most evil bastard I've come across in recent times.
Oh, calm down, Jamal.
We have every reason to hate this man. Not only is he a sociopath, but he's an ultimate simp that is insecure and cannot accept reality. The worst of breed a human can be.
And who's that? Oh, it's Mr. MVP!
Kisaki Tetta.
I'm kind of retarded.
Kisaki has the most punchable face. I mean, just look at him.
Tiger, tiger.
And when you come to understand his reasoning for being evil and killing everyone, you are going to want to.
No, stop!
From a very young age, Kisaki was considered a genius. He was also modest and very good at manipulating people. He was able to create a perfect 10-year plan that would make him go from a nerd, like those of you in your mother's basement, to the leader of the most notorious gang in all of Tokyo. Kisaki has always been full of mysteries. For example, you're probably thinking, why did he create Mobius and Valhalla just to go against the Tokyo Manji gang? Why does he love Mikey so much and he wants to control him? Why does he have this plan to take over Tormon? I'm confused. Well, we're going to answer all these questions in this video, diving deep into his philosophy and psychology of his character. From the very first time we hear about Kisaki, we learn that he's the leader of one of the most notorious gang in all of Tokyo, the Tokyo Manji gang, alongside Mikey. If you're interested about Mikey's character, by the way, regarding his backstory, as well as how he became the most powerful character in all of Tokyo Revengers, you must watch the videos being displayed to you right now. I'll put the playlist in the pinned comment just for you to binge watch after this. Kisaki is associated with being the #1 delinquent. In order to understand his 10-year plan, as well as his actions to achieve this goal, we have to understand why he wanted to do so and what drove him to become so ruthless and use his intelligence to manipulate people to achieve his goals. Kisaki will do anything to get where he wants to be, even using those who pledge loyalty to him as tools to greaten his own legacy. Everyone is a tool to Kisaki. He believes humans are just there to be manipulated and used for his favor. And if anyone gets in his way, they must be eliminated, even if it means death. Someone like Kisaki is good at applying his charisma to persuade people to join him willingly, even if he leaves out key details which might ultimately cause them harm. For example, we see him do this with almost all of his subordinates in the 3rd division of the Tokyo Margin gang. Knowing this, you would think his motives to become the #1 delinquent in all of Tokyo would be something traumatic he experienced during his childhood, right? Like him being bullied by delinquents since he was just a kid, or his house being destroyed, or even losing one of his loved ones as a byproduct of a gang fight. Well, his true motive to all of his fucked up actions is because he's simping for a girl.
新ピング4 A がある
Here's the gun, here's the doctor's note. Fucking kill him!
Yes, his plan to become the best delinquent during a period of 10 years is because he's simping for a girl that doesn't like him back, but he is determined to make her love him. This guy's level of simping is equal, if not higher, than anyone I've seen in shonen. Jigen simping for Kawaki's cheeks, not enough passion. Dante simping for Lucifer's pee-pee, not enough aggression. All this girl said to him was, "You're smart," and he instantly nutted, fam. Who is this girl, you might ask? Well, it's none other than Hinata, aka Hina, Takemichi's girlfriend. Kisaki and Hina met and have been friends since elementary school, to Takemichi's ignorance, as he didn't know until later on in the manga. Kisaki has always been a shy and quiet kid. He was also most likely bullied in school for his appearance, always being ignored and thrown aside because of the way he looked, and out of jealousy, people didn't want to get close to him. This is where Hina's approach changed Kisaki's life. For Kisaki, anyone approaching him, showing care for him, was everything. since he never had anyone showing concern for him. He was always forced into this dark corner, unable to see the light. This happens in real life all the time, where individuals are put aside by others just because of the way they look. So pretty much in childhood, Kisaki was getting bullied. If we try to put ourselves in his shoes, just imagine if you were as smart as Kisaki. People would approach you just to take advantage of how smart you are, not because they care about you. No. You won't know who to trust, you won't have any friends, and you will be forced to stay in this bubble where you would shut yourself down, scared that someone would hurt you, thus developing trust issues. This ultimately leads you to develop depression and anxiety, not being able to see a way out. This is where the slightest bit of kindness can make a huge impact on someone's life. Hina was the light and guidance Kisaki needed to get out of his dark bubble, but Kisaki, being at such a low point of his life, made this little act of kindness by Hina amplified in Kisaki's mind, making him fall in love with her. Hina actually praised Kisaki for being smart and ranking number 1 in a national test. Kisaki pretended not to care, but he actually loved Hina, and he thought that him being a prodigy, Hina would like someone like him. However, at the end of the day, let's be honest, we all know we don't support this shit. We want Takemichi and Hina to have the happy ending that they deserve. So make sure to support our channel as well. We would like to cover the entire love story of Takemichi and Hina in the future for you guys, but we need you to join our gang. Make sure to hit the notification bell, as well as smashing the like button just like Mikey smashes his opponents, because that way we know that you want this content and you can support us further. So this is where things don't go as planned for Kisaki. One day, him and Hina were walking home when they encountered a group of kids bullying. Hina goes up to them and tries to stop them, but it's no use. Kisaki, being scared that he would get hurt, doesn't do a thing to help Hina. That's when Takemichi shows up, acting as a hero, and he tries to save them from the bullies. Of course, he gets beat up and loses, but this act of courage makes Hinata fall in love with Takemichi, in turn stealing Hina's heart from Kisaki, as he puts it. This is where Kisaki's superiority complex developed. He couldn't accept that Hina would like someone like Takemichi, whom he considered to be a loser. Remember that Kisaki was always a prodigy from a young age. Even if he was being modest about it, deep in his heart and mind, he always knew he was better than everyone else in turn, slowly but surely developing this complex of superiority. So Kisaki, unable to understand what Hina saw in Takemichi that he doesn't have, he decides to follow him in order to figure out why she would like Takemichi. During this, Takemichi has a conversation with Takuya about becoming the top hero delinquent in Japan. Kisaki, confused as to what the hell is that dream, asked himself if someone like that can actually be a hero. So Kisaki comes up with a great conclusion. If Hina would love such a person that would want to become that top delinquent in Japan, then why not become the best himself? And after he searched for who should be his medium to rise to the top, even finding Osanai in season 1, remember the man who would become the Mobius leader later on, he ponders upon Mikey, and as soon as he saw Mikey, Kisaki immediately knew that he had tremendous potential to be Japan's #1 under his corrupt guidance. I will now be passing the video on to Harrison, as he will be explaining the rest of this story of why Kisaki became evil, so make sure to stick around as it's really important to understand the entire story and manga.
Adding on to what Adil explained, this is very important because Kisaki's whole plan was a byproduct of Takemichi's heroic actions towards Hina. Takemichi unintentionally created Kisaki without even realizing it. This is one of those stories where the hero always ends up creating his own demise, or the bad creating the good that would eventually defeat them. For example, All for One accidentally creating One for All in My Hero Academia. This set up the event that would lead up to the future where Hina gets killed and Takemichi discovering he has time travel powers and teaming up with Naoto, Hina's brother, to prevent her death in the future by changing the past events, thus triggering the event in the future where Takemichi now has to become a hero in order to save everyone. Pretty much they're both influencing each other without really knowing it. Takemichi has a very hard time dealing with Kisaki throughout the story, even though he isn't able to time travel, but he can apply his wits to make every outcome favour his intentions no matter the efforts that Takemichi puts towards changing the fate of Mikey and the gang. Kisaki is the literal definition of a villain, and he doesn't fall short of playing the part of evil, but there's much more to him than just that. As we know, this is Kisaki's main beef with Takemichi because due to Hinata's treatment of Kisaki back in cram school, he'd fallen in love with her, a feeling that she doesn't reciprocate in any timeline he alters, causing him to order her death every time she rejects it. Kisaki is truly a psycho, and due to all of his choices it becomes clear he cares for nothing other than his goals. The first sign of Kisaki not being mentally stable is when he called Takemichi my hero, all while pointing a gun to his head as a tear came down his face. That's not something you would usually do to someone you consider your hero. Kisaki uses characters from every gang to manipulate the events that unfold into his favour. First, he manipulates the members of Valhalla in one timeline in order to make him their leader once they take over the Tokyo Revengers gang, and when Takemichi changes that fate, he is still able to persuade Pa to let him become the 3rd Division captain so he could influence the Toman gang in his favour. Specifically during the war with Valhalla, Kisaki timed his arrival at a crucial moment, where it saves Mikey from being taken out after being exhausted from a fight where Draken declares his faith in Kisaki protecting Mikey, making all of the Toman members present feel as if Kisaki is a reliable commander. Kisaki's manipulations don't stop there. He's led Draken to death once when he became leader, tricked Kozatura into killing Baji, killed Chifuyu in a future timeline, killed Emma, killed Naoto, Hina's brother, and even destroyed the Shiba brothers, all to have Toman under his control, making Mikey face the consequences of these actions, leading him to attempt to commit suicide. Takemichi does his best to keep these events from happening, which leads to Kisaki being kicked out of the gang after the Christmas battle in 2005. Once this happens, Kisaki approaches Izana Kurakawa, creating a new gang called Tenjuku to go against Toman in the Kanto incident. Kisaki is definitely a determined bastard, and we see this even more when Takemichi finally has a one-on-one clash with him in chapter 181. As the two are fighting, Kisaki admits to wanting to be the dark hero, the one to take over Toman with his perfectly crafted plans. His plans were all based on him taking control of Toman and Mikey, using him like a puppet so he can control Tokyo's underworld. This is a play on Kisaki calling Takemichi my hero, something that confused Takemichi, but it was simply Kisaki's psychopathic way of appreciating Takemichi for giving him a way to get Hinata to love him. With Takemichi being called my hero by Kisaki, you would think that he has some type of appreciation for him, but really, Kisaki just stalks him after seeing his bravery when he saved Hinata years ago. When they were kids, Takemichi stood up to bullies that were attacking Hinata, and Kisaki watched the entire scene while scared hiding behind a wall. This is where that psychopathic admiration and rivalry with Takemichi formed, because he saw Hinata fall for Takemichi in that moment, making his jealousy form. After his time stalking, Kisaki realised Takemichi wanted to be the #1 delinquent in Tokyo, and thought that his desire to be a delinquent was what made Hinata fall for him. So he decided to become Tokyo's #1 delinquent / criminal by creating a plan where he would use Mikey to rise to the top, eventually take over Toman in the shadows and propose to Hinata publicly, thinking that she wouldn't reject him. So he was incredibly wrong. I mean, this guy's a dumbass. Hinata rejects Kisaki every single time, so in truth he doesn't really love her because he kills her every time. None of these things Kisaki did was because he loved Hinata. What he truly loved was having possession over her. He saw Hinata as something he owned, and with all his efforts and genius he swore he had crafted the perfect plan to make her fall for him, but it never happened. This is what made him snap and show his true self as someone who never got over their inferiority complex, but instead projected their inner malice on everyone around them, using them as tools for his own goals. At the end of the day, Kisaki is the product of his environment mixed with natural genius. It was that isolation as a young genius that made him develop an unnatural attachment to Hinata, since she was the only one to show him kindness, and him noticing that he was too weak to do anything causes him to twist logic to believe Hinata is something he owns and not a person that he must get to know in order for her to love him. Kisaki doesn't truly reflect on his own shortcomings, but instead finds ways to manipulate those around him to do all the work because he lacks the physical capabilities to do so. He is someone who embodies what it means to be weak in spirit, yet believe he is powerful due to thinking he can outsmart anyone. But Takemichi's time leaping was the ultimate counter to Kisaki's genius. This final loss to Takemichi in chapter 184 was not enough to make Kisaki give up on his ambitions, and he runs runs away declaring he will make Hinata his. The end of Kisaki happens when he stops in the middle of the street in response to Takemichi claiming he was going to keep him from returning to the past. Kisaki admits he isn't a time leaper when a truck whose driver was not watching the road slams into him and sends him flying. Kisaki doesn't die on impact, but all of his limbs are broken and he pleads for his life, declaring he doesn't want to die but passes out in his own blood, giving off his last breath. My man was a mastermind, yet he got killed because he couldn't look both ways while crossing the road. Like I said, dumbass. Anyway guys, that pretty much covers Kisaki's story. Let us know what you made of him as a villain down below, and be sure to leave a like, subscribe, ding in the notification bell of course, and check out our merch. Thank you all for watching, and we'll be seeing you guys in another video. But for now, bye bye.